So why should you draw from life? So it's been a while since I've drawn from life. It's so easy for artists to get into a routine where we're drawing from photographs or, finding reference images online or from stock photography, but that routine can sometimes get a little boring or it can feel like work. And so lately I've been making an effort to draw from life more often and develop that as part of my routine and part of my schedule just to get out of my comfort zone. So one of the number one reasons I love to draw from life is because it gets you out of your regular routine. Art excursions are fun. Even if you're just going around your own city or your own town, you can find fun little spots to draw from life or paint or sketch from some of your favorite spots. It could be in nature, in a park, it could be in your local museum, it could be downtown, or you could just find a bench to sit on, anything like that. Art excursions are kind of like a little mini adventure, and so it is fun, it's exciting, you get to plan your day, and it's kind of leisurely as well. You can get coffee, you can go out to eat for lunch or pack a picnic, you can bring some friends along and maybe they want to read a book or listen to a podcast, or just chat while you sit and draw or paint. And so you get to hang out and have this leisurely activity and even be social if you want to, but you're still working on developing your art skills. So it's like killing two birds with one stone. Number two is it helps you have a human perspective. Now there's nothing wrong with drawing from photographs, especially if you took the photographs yourself. It is your eye still seeing, what you wanted to capture. But the difference between drawing from life and drawing from a photograph is a photograph does have that photographer's perspective. And we snap photographs all the time. I have a million photographs on my phone and they're kind of a dime a dozen, but being able to have that human perspective and develop your eye to see in real time is invaluable. Number three is drawing from life develops flexibility as an artist. So when you are drawing from life, things are moving, the scene might be changing, or if you are in a museum like I was today, then you might be trying to quickly sketch because there's someone behind you waiting to kind of see the same piece of art that you're looking at. And so you're trying to work quickly, right? And so you have to be a little bit flexible. Another thing that happened while I was in the museum today is there were no benches to sit on, so I wasn't able to get the full color. So I was able to do these pen and ink sketches, and I remembered maybe like 75% of what these art pieces looked like, but I couldn't remember some of the details. So I had to fill in and improvise with my sketch, right? Just from memory. And so that also helps you become more flexible as an artist and kind of change things in the way that you see them and the way that you want to render your own art. Number four is it helps you develop your own observation skills. So again, getting that sharper eye when you're out in the real world, seeing things around you, it just helps you become a better observer, especially when you are trying to draw. You can see the little details, and you do remember things better when you go to a museum if you sketch them out. If you're just sitting there and drawing in your sketchbook, then you are actually seeing the piece better than if you were just to stand there and look at it and go, that's cool, and then walk on to the next piece. You were actually observing all the little details, all the little lines, all the colors, all the etching, all the mark making techniques that went into that piece. Number five is that drawing from life really does help you record a special memory. Again, we take a million pictures with our phones all the time, but how often do you go back and look through, 500 pictures that may be on your phone? Probably not too often, right? But if you have a sketchbook that, something was cool enough for you to sit down and pay attention for 30 minutes or an hour, or even if it's a 5-minute sketch, just being able to record that in your sketchbook is gonna record that special memory. And I know when I go back and look at my old sketchbooks, it really brings me back to that moment in time, and I can remember the feeling of being there even better than if I'm looking at photographs. And so it just really helps record that special memory in a different way, in a way that's a little bit more special than just taking a bunch of pictures. Alright, so let's talk about which art supplies I brought with me on my trip to the museum today, because art supplies can be heavy and kind of clunky and not so easy to travel with. And so I have a few really good ones that are not too heavy and are easy to pack up and actually use when you're out and about. So let's dive into those. Hey y'all, so I'm about to head up to the High Museum of Art here in Atlanta, Georgia, and actually sketch from life in a museum. And I haven't done that, I don't think, since I was in college, which is crazy to say, but I'm really trying to dive back into the fine art side of things, and so I packed this little backpack that I got from Everlane, and I'll show you what is in the bag. So I have, of course, my little face mask because we're still not totally out of the woods yet. I'm bringing some colored pencils, some Posca pens. I filled a little pill jar with water, and it is leak proof, thankfully, and so hopefully they'll let me take this into the museum. I have my Winsor & Newton watercolor little travel set. And the palette is what I actually made to take to Egypt on our upcoming trip, but I want to try it out in person before I take it all the way to Egypt. And so I'm going to try it out in the High Museum first, but that is what this palette is specifically made for, because we'll be in the desert, and so I wanted a lot of warms and just keeping a few little cools for, you know, the sky, the water, and, you know, one green just in case there is some greenery, but I doubt there's going to be a ton of greenery out in the desert. I am bringing this sketchbook that I made, and so it's just a nice little travel size. It is a bit heavy because I added so many pages, and this little pouch that fastens on can fit a few pens and pencils inside, and so that's really nice, and a little kneaded eraser. And it just, the elastic band allows it to attach to the outside of your sketchbook. And then instead of bringing paper towels, I brought these little gauze sponges, and so I'm going to try these out because they're super lightweight, and I believe there's 2 inside, and that way I can use one while I'm painting, and then if I need to kind of wipe out my little watercolor palette before I pack it back up, I can do that as well. I'm also bringing some hand sanitizer wipes to have. This was a little bit lighter than my current hand sanitizer spray, and so when you are packing art supplies, it's always good to try to keep everything as lightweight as possible, although this ended up being a little heavy, so it's going to be interesting to see what I actually use while I'm in the museum. I also have this really cute little pencil case, and inside it I have some more Posca pens and pencils and pens to use, and so yeah. I'm also bringing this little plastic thing of wells for mixing watercolors. It has 2 magnets on the side, and I actually just got this in a different palette that's meant for more of a studio. It's a bigger palette, but I have this little clip to clip down my pages while I'm painting, and so the magnet can actually stick to that. And so we'll actually see if I use it or not, but I thought it was like a cool, very convenient little travel option to have. So we'll see how everything actually functions once we're in the museum. For paintbrushes, I no longer have the paintbrush that came with this set because my grandmother gave this set to me when I was a child, and so I'm still using the case and just changed out some of the colors. But I just stuck a couple of brushes here in with these Posca pens. They are just rubber band together, and so I hope that the brushes don't get squished or anything while we're biking over there. I also have this travel set of watercolor brushes. You pull it out like that, and then you just stick it into the lid, and voila, you have a brush to paint with. So they're really easy to pack up and just use on the go, but the brush itself is just pretty basic. It's not anything super fancy, and I've actually gotten used to using these really amazing Raphael brushes. And there is a travel set, but it is extremely expensive, and so I'm debating on whether I want to buy this travel set or not to bring to Egypt. So I'm gonna try these guys out and just see how they work, and if I am really hating them, then I might just have to suck it up and buy this set. These guys, however, are super affordable, so if they work okay, then I'll just, of course, use these on my trip. But it's good to try everything out before actually going on your trip so that you're not disappointed once you're there and kind of just stuck with what you brought.
That's why I wrote you a letter, 'cause you see, I write so much better than I speak. I need to tell you, you were my best friend to the end. I hope I'll be happy without you. But right now I don't know what to do. It's hard to get over, you chose someone else, my best friend.
Hey guys, so I just got back from the High Museum and I want to show you what art supplies I ended up using and which ones I did not. So unfortunately, when I was in the museum, there were no benches set up. And so I don't know if that's gonna go away in a few months and maybe they'll bring some benches back. Like, I don't know if they've been removed due to the current situation or if they just never had benches. I can't quite remember, but I was able to do some quick sketches in pen and then go back outside and pick a spot to fill in the rest of the sketches with color, do a little bit of watercolor sketching as well, and fill in the rest of those little sketches. So that was really fun, but yeah, there wasn't really a place to sit down and use anything other than, you know, just what I could hold while I was standing up inside of the museum. So these Pentel brush pens were awesome. I only needed to use these. I really didn't need to use any other paint brushes, which means I didn't need to bring these guys at all. I thought I might, you know, want to use this type of brush, but I just really didn't even need it. So didn't need to bring those. And even this guy, the travel set, I really didn't even need to use these either. And so I'm kind of debating on whether or not I need to bring these on my trip to Egypt because I really just never even used them. But it's nice to have the different options, but I just don't know, it's just more to carry. I also felt like I didn't necessarily need this guy. I think it's really cool and convenient that I can just strap it onto my sketchbook, but it doesn't hold a lot of pens. It really only holds 2 or 3 pens, and it has my little eraser there. I also didn't use my pencil or eraser at all. I just ended up sketching in pen, so that's making me wonder if I even need to bring a pencil. You know, it's nice to have one just in case, but not sure about that. Now for all of my Posca pens and colored pencils, and of course the paint brushes as well, I definitely used this bag a lot, but it doesn't all fit in this bag, of course, because I have a ton of stuff. But I was surprised that I used these as much as I did. And since I had my bag with me, I was really just able to utilize the front pocket and put a bunch of my markers and stuff in here. But I realized if I'm in an airplane or something like that, I'm not going to be able to bring out this whole bag into the seat with me. So I may invest in another little pencil case just to hold a few more markers and colored pencils as well. I definitely used my watercolors, and I kind of wished I had maybe a few more colors, but I was able to kind of fill in with the other markers and colored pencils that I have when I was missing a color in my watercolors. And I'll show you. And I did not end up using this at all. I'm still kind of considering taking it just because it is pretty lightweight and it does give me more mixing options, but I didn't do a ton of mixing. Oh, and I did use this gauze, which was really nice. And I have an extra one here. So it's just really lightweight and just, you know, easy to clean your brush off with or dab up of some water if you made a mistake with your watercolors. I also, on this little trip, did not end up using this retractable and just pops out like that, but it is kind of big and it is just a tiny bit heavy. And I couldn't really I guess maybe I could, but I didn't want to put water in it before I left the house. And so what I ended up doing is finding this old little medicine case that has a screw-on lid, and I just put water in that and put it in my bag, and I tipped it over and made sure that no water came out, and yeah, it worked really well. And this was perfect for using with my watercolors because I always had just a tiny bit of water. Of course, there's also water in these brushes, but when I needed to just rinse off my brush, that was really helpful because it didn't end up using all of the water that's in the tip of the brush here. And I definitely used my sketchbook that I brought, and I'll show you kind of what I ended up with. So the first exhibit that we went to was this African exhibit, and it was super cool. There were some really nice masks in there. And then the next exhibit that we went to was this Persian exhibit, and this was really fun. And again, I was only able to kind of do the initial pen sketch while I was in the museum because there was no place to sit down, but right afterwards I kind of remembered what I saw and went and filled in the rest with color. Of course, every artist is going to be different depending on what your favorite mediums are and how you like to fill your sketchbook and draw from life. So of course it can be a little bit different, but these are good art supplies to travel with, and it makes for kind of an easy art excursion out in the day. And if you want to draw from life in a museum, then I do highly recommend all of these art supplies that I used today. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.